Welcome back, guys. So today we are getting ourselves into a crazy project as per usual. I'm on a mission to build a shelf that houses houseplants that auto drains itself, because what's happening here is we have these shelves right here, and it becomes so much maintenance to take all these houseplants off of the shelves and to water them. So my idea here is to build a shelf essentially that we can leave the plants on, and when we water them they can stay in place and it will just auto drain itself into a 5-gallon bucket. So to get started, all I have to do is essentially build a normal shelf out of wood, which I'm going to use 2x4s and plywood. I tried to keep it as simple as possible, so what I did was I planned on just cutting a sheet of plywood in half, that way I could minimize cuts, and that makes the shelf be 2 feet wide by 8 feet long. And it also helped me with cutting the 2x4s because you can buy those at 8-foot lengths. So there was very minimal cutting actually, so that really helped. One thing that was a setback though is we had to build this shelf inside the house because it wasn't going to fit in the doorway, and it's 8 feet long and it would have taken an army to get it inside. And you guys got to remember, I said that the shelves were going to auto drain themselves, so this means that one side of the shelf has to be a little taller than the other end. I went with an inch difference. I wanted the shelves to have enough tilt so that the water drains clearly, but I also didn't want the shelf to look weird. Now that we've built the skeleton of the shelf itself, now we have to concentrate on draining the water through the shelves. When I thought of how to build this in my head, I tried to think of like a trough system or else like a gutter system. So what I did was I started by putting little pieces of wood on the sides to kind of make like a small tiny trough. When I shared this idea of building this shelf on my Fish Tank Chaos episode 2, there was some people that commented, "Hey Chris, nurseries are full of these shelving, like this is nothing new." But here's the deal, nurseries aren't full of shelving like this. Nurseries are usually in a greenhouse and the shelving just has like grating and the water just goes right through it. This is inside your house. Not only that, but we're going to stain up this shelf really nice. We're going to clear coat it. This isn't going to be something industrial from a nursery. This is kind of going to be like a home, stainy, wood grain looking feel. Okay, so back on track here. As we were staining, I was trying to think of something to put as a water barrier on top of these shelves. And I decided the best thing would have been a pond liner. I had a bunch laying around. I accidentally ordered a bunch of pond liners because it's a long story. I don't even want to talk about it. But I had this laying around. So for the longest time, I was overthinking how to do this. And I was like, you know what, Chris, just dive into this. That's exactly what I did. I just started cutting up pieces of pond liner. I overlapped them. I tried to glue them together with a spray adhesive. I thought about all kinds of different ideas on what to do. I thought of using carpet glue to glue it to the wood. I thought of using spray adhesive. I thought of a lot of different things. But my decision was I wasn't going to glue the pond liner to the shelf at all. What I was going to do is just staple the sides of it on that little sidewall, just because I don't think the sidewall is going to get a lot of water, because if we're just talking, watering plants, this isn't like crazy amounts of water. And here's me stapling it. This went pretty easy, a lot easier than I thought. I got a little anxious because as I built this thing, I was just thinking to myself, is this actually going to hold water? Is it enough tilt to actually drain itself? I had so many things going through my mind, and this is just kind of an idea that I got while trying to fall asleep. And not to mention how complex the plumbing had to be. Well, it's not complex, but just the fitment of the pipes having to be like set to the shelf. They can't move because this all has to be watertight, and I somehow have to epoxy it. I will give a small warning. This is not a super easy DIY build, man. This took me some in-depth thinking, time, and I'm actually pretty good at fabrication, I've been told, and I absolutely obsess over it. So this is not an easy project is what I'm trying to say. Again, not that you cannot build this, but I'm just giving a warning because it was stressful and we went full crackhead status on this, and I think we finished this in 3 days, but it was a stressful 3 days. It was just on my mind constantly, and there's just a lot of trial and error. Here we are putting the shelf back where we planned to put it. So it looked ginormous at first. We decided that we were going to lay down some gravel just to kind of like help the houseplants get up off of the pond liner so that the water kind of drains outside of the pot. We were also wondering what type of rock to use. You know, is this too small a rock? Is this going to hold too much moisture? There's just so many questions with this, and we're just going to have to trial and error this. So here's the part that I dreaded the most. This is where we're going to have to connect the pond liner to the PVC drainage. And what I did was I kind of just furthered the sidewalls to my trough/gutter system. So what I did was I kind of just measured some pieces of wood that I was going to put in there, and then I glued some boards just like the sides, and I was going to try to route the waterway into the entrance of that pipe. And I'm using wood glue to just make sure everything is as sturdy as possible, just because if things start to move, that's where my epoxy bond is going to be broken, because I want that epoxy and everything that bonds down here to just keep its shape. One of the things that I was most worried about in this project was getting a bond to go from the pond liner into the PVC pipe. Because as you can see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to staple the pond liner to the sidewalls here and get this in here to the best of its ability and get it tight. And then what I'm going to do is cut a little bit of an opening to where I can epoxy the pond liner to the plywood and all of the wood of the shelf, and then to the PVC pipe itself, so that it has a bond so that the surface is all the same. All right, you guys are probably wondering, hey Chris, what the heck are you even talking about? Just show us. So here's the epoxy. What I did was I mixed it up. I researched this special epoxy that I thought might work, and of course it did. And then I just essentially gooped it in there and I let it harden, and then that's that. It's not rocket science. It's just kind of all about using the right epoxy. Do not get this stuff on your hands. I'll throw a link in the description box if you guys really want to know what this product is. I found it on a weird website. It's called like Sika Force or something like that. I don't know. But this is, I needed something crazy because we're bonding from pond liner to wood to PVC. And this stuff is like would stick to close to anything. It's crazy. So here the product is hard. Hopefully it holds water, right guys? So then what we did was we put some rocks over the top of the pond liner, and then we applied plants as per se. The plant shelf looks amazing, I might add. So the question is this thing actually going to work? Are we going to be able to water plants just sitting in the shelf and have it auto drain? So here we are watering the plants, and it appears to be working. The little stones, the substrate is holding the plants quite well, and it appears to be going in the drain, guys. So my plan did work. I guess we'll check the drain, make sure nothing is leaking. Down here is a 5-gallon bucket. Look at that, guys. That is success. I love building projects and just seeing them come to fruition. Look at this beast. Like, all of the, like, this is going to make watering our house plants so much easier. Well, guys, that's it. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm dying to know what you think. Do you want one of these shelves? Do you like it? Do you think you're going to build it yourself? I would love to hear from you if you have other ideas on how you could do this. My mind was going like crazy on what I could do. I could do epoxies. There's so many crazy avenues. Guys, this is my DIY video on the self-draining houseplant shelf.